Welcome to Windsor. My name is Christian Eschbach, and I am going to be your guide on how to cross from Detroit, Rock City, into Windsor, Ontario, Canada, the most southern major city in Canada. Our first form of crossing is kayak, and this is courtesy of Windsor Adventures Inc., who sponsored a video for the Howling Odyssey eons ago. They are still active. This video footage, though, is about 5 years old. This footage is me going across from Sandpoint Beach up to Pesh Island. I don't go from Pesh Island over to Detroit. That would be illegally crossing an international border. I just want to use this old video footage I had from when I got to do this trip, courtesy of Adventures Inc., and I'm not going to plug them any more than that. But check them out if you want to kayak. Kayaking over to Pesh Island is a really cool little thing to do. And what you're seeing in front of me is partially Pesh Island and partially parts of Detroit. Now this video footage, as I said, is a few years old. And when I say a few years old, I mean at this point, it's actually about, I think 7 years old, might be 8 years old. So some of the Detroit side has actually changed drastically since I shot this. And I was trying to find spots so I could show it out on, Google Maps. And I couldn't get an accurate, actual satellite proper photo of it because of how much it changed. The angles wouldn't match up or anything like that. The building that you can see over on the left-hand side of the screen, that particular video, or that building, you'll see in another shot coming up. And this is not that far of a boat ride. I going there was kind of going with the current a little bit. The current kind of pulls you along a little bit. There is a very strong current in the Detroit River. And this particular spot that I'm actually going through, it's not specifically just the Detroit River. It's actually the mouth of the Detroit River going into Lake St. Clair. And Pesh Island is kind of the closest you can get on the Canadian side without going into the Detroit side, which was in the map at the very beginning. I'm not sure if you actually pay that much attention to it or not. My apologies on how long this has taken to get through here, so I'll probably end up speeding up the footage a little bit here. But where I'm going is on to Pesh Island, and you are going to get to see some video footage. You're going to know how old I am. You won't see any of the gray that's in here in the video footage that comes up of me. And I just wanted to show everybody this was actually me out there doing this and filming it and whatnot. So I cut and spliced it together. But realistically, if you are on the Windsor side, go do this trip. It's a nice trip. It doesn't take long. You can rent the kayak, I believe, by the hour. At least that's how he used to do it. I personally would rent it for like a day and go out because I'd go over and explore the whole island, kayak everything. And I've done this trip multiple times and I love it every time. I haven't been out in a few years, but this summer I am going to make my way back out there again. I miss it a lot. Here, this is, you can see some swans. This is all the nice little wildlife that's out and around Pesh Island. This is also, like I said, this is in the Detroit River. This is where it all kind of meets up and looks nice. And like I said, hey, there's me. And look at that lovely face. I was also a lot heavier. I will say, a lot thinner now than I was there. And I have a chin, so, this is not why I have this here. I just like it and I think it looks nice. Okay. Look at my ass, man. I'm gonna eat somebody out here. That's right. If you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at, right? Okay, so, and then this is the last little bit of footage while I was out there. I wanted to show, this is looking from where I was at Pesh Island straight over into the Detroit area. This is the same building you could see in the first little bit of footage as I was heading out that way. I'm not exactly sure where on Pesh Island I was when I shot this footage, or else I would honestly mark it on a map because it would have been easier to do than try and figure it out afterwards when everything has started to change. But we're going to move on to the next bit of video now, okay? Next up, we are on to the Ambassador Bridge. This footage is shot from the spots marked on the map there. Okay, so the Ambassador Bridge was they started construction in 1927. It was opened in 1929. Numerous deaths, numerous issues related to this bridge. This bridge, well, it is a major landmark and, it's been a major part of our cityscape forever, It has also been a major blight on this city. In the map, it showed that the Ambassador Bridge cuts right through what used to be the boundary line between Windsor West and Sandwich, the town of Sandwich. It's all merged together now. It's all amalgamated together. It's all Windsor now. But because it's all Windsor now, it cuts right through part of Windsor. It runs right next to our university. It was a smart idea back when trucks were not what they are now, but the way that trucks are now, it is a horrible thing. It really sucks. I'm not a fan of it in the slightest. The other thing that goes with this is the major owners of this company, the Maroon Company, Marty Maroon, I believe, Marty Maroon, whatever the fuck, he's dead now. I hope he's rotting in hell. I don't say that about a lot of people, but this guy was so bad to this city. He bought up all this property. He was hell-bent on trying to build 2 bridges right through the middle of our city, no matter how much the city said no, it wasn't going to happen. We weren't going to allow it. He was hell-bent on it. It got to the point where there is a second bridge being built now, which I'm going to get into afterwards. But I don't want to talk about that yet. I want to talk about this bridge. And related to this bridge needs to be replaced. It's falling apart. The Maroon did not properly maintain this bridge. That whole corporation has never maintained this bridge properly. The bridge is in bad shape. It's not great. And for the busiest international crossing, no advertising here. Sorry, that was unintended. To be in this location it's a blight on the city. The pollution levels are crazy. Everybody's always worried that it's going to fall down. I don't think it's really going to fall down. But basically, the company was told, you can build a new bridge after you tear this bridge down. It was one of the stipulations on them getting to build a new bridge was they had to wait until after the new bridge is built, the bridge that's currently being worked on, which I'm going to get to afterwards. They have to wait for that bridge to be completed. Then they can start demolition on this bridge. Then they can build their bridge. Because that is how bad the Maroon Company has behaved towards the city of Windsor. They bought up every spot that could have been turned into a possible crossing point. Just ripped down and leveled out properties, didn't do anything with them. Some of the ones that they did kept and they didn't tear down, they're just kind of sitting there rotting. Part of that is the city of Windsor's fault, and I'm going to be completely honest about that. The street that runs up alongside the bridge there, Indian Road, where they wanted to build the twin spanning bridge, the city of Windsor wouldn't give them permits to demolish the houses, so a lot of the houses were bought up and they just sat there boarded up forever. I think they finally got to start demolishing a good chunk of them. But basically, Maroon turned the West End into a complete shit show. Horrible company. Tyrants. I personally think that if any member of that company were to step foot on Canadian soil, they should all be automatically arrested for terrorism. Because they have terrorized this city. They have. By all intents and purposes, they have terrorized the city. So I don't say that lightly. Economic terrorism should be an actual charge, and that is something they should be hit with as well. Everything they did to try and prevent the new Gordie Howe Bridge, which I'm mentioning for the first time now because, like I said, I don't want to get into it too much. Everything the Maroon Company did to try and prevent that bridge, the money they threw around to try and block it on the US side was insane. Let's move on. All right, I need a break from the bridge discussion for a moment. So we are going to talk about the tunnel. I shot this footage where the red line was. I thought this was really cute. I wanted to show a little bit around the tunnel so you can get an idea. So this is, welcome to Ontario, open for business. You can see Casino Windsor in the background. Only they're open for business. Then you got travel information. Ontario, yours to discover. The building is closed. Not currently up and running. And look how run down it looks. Then you got City Hall right next to that. City Hall, this was built brand new right after 5 years prior. We had just built a brand new City Hall. Yeah, because our city council pisses away money left, right, and center. They always have. They are horrible. They should not be allowed. I personally would have run for mayor of this city by now, except for I'd never get elected because my views and opinions on a lot of stuff would piss off way too many people. Like the fact that our chief of police gets tickets for driving recklessly because he's doing 135 kilometers an hour in a, what was it? I think a 65 zone, might have been an 80. Either way over the limit. Anyways, so what we're walking towards here is the exit for the Detroit Windsor Tunnel. This is the exit onto the Canadian side. I thought about filming going from the Canadian side to the Detroit side because it actually looks nicer. It's got a better presentation to it, which is sad and pathetic. But I didn't want to get into that. I didn't want to encourage people to go to Detroit. This is about Windsor, folks. So coming into Windsor. All right, all jokes aside, I really hate the way that this is set up. The tunnel was built in 1930. They have had ample time to rebuild everything around the tunnel since. All the roads around the tunnel, everything, and they haven't. They should have forever ago. They realistically, like over the last 100 years, this whole area should have been ripped down and rebuilt with the roads redesigned and everything. And they've never done it. The city of Windsor has squandered so many opportunities to make this work better and look better, and they've pissed them all away. All they've done is jammed and crowded this in more and more over all the years. The exit out into Ontario, Windsor, Canada did that all out of whack. The exit out is really fast, it's easy, it's convenient. That's what you're seeing here. There's a hotel right there. I'm not trying to advertise, it's just there. It's been so many different hotels over the years. And once again, it is that hotel, that whole set, that whole block is part of the problem here. That whole block should be just demolished. And the 400 block, the 500 block, and the 600 block basically should be completely torn down and made into a better, more well-designed area for flow. Maybe not so much the 600 block. Definitely the 500 block and the 400 block, though. Even the 500 block all the way up to the waterfront, that whole area really needs to be torn down and redesigned. And it never will be because it's all like heritage bullshit, which I have huge issues with. Another reason I couldn't be mayor in this city, I and the heritage community would bash heads non-stop because the heritage community is ridiculous. Here we go, nice little plaque. City of Windsor Tunnel Commission, tunnel exit sign. This was all part of a redesign that they did in 98. I remember when they did the redesign. And it really didn't do anything cool to make it better. Okay, I've had enough. I'm gonna burst a blood vessel talking about this. The city of Windsor really is just constantly run by screw-ups. They don't want to fix the city. They just want to screw it up worse and worse. And it really does take the federal government and the provincial government to come in and kind of bail out the city because of how badly they screw things up. Like I said, the tunnel and the bridge have been nonstop screw-ups, not just on the Detroit side, but on the Canadian side as well, specifically with the city of Windsor. They have made a huge mess of a lot of this stuff. They could fix it. They don't. Speaking of the bridge, let's go back over to Gordie Howe Bridge. The Gordie Howe Bridge. Whew. All right. This thing has been another nightmare in the city of Windsor. What you see there is one of the two towers for the bridge that are up. They started working on this bridge, I want to say like a decade ago. There's been nonstop fighting, as I've already mentioned, because of the Maroon Company. They did everything they could to try and block this. Canada is footing the entire cost of this bridge to get this bridge built. You can see the two spans. But Maroon lied and misrepresented everything so badly to the state of Michigan that the only way this bridge was going to get built was for the federal Canadian government to step up, go, we're going to just foot the dam, the whole entire thing. You guys can't complain about everything. We're going to pay for all of it. Every last little bit of it, we're going to pay for. We'll even pay for American jobs, blah, 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 blah. So basically, Canada came in and said, dear USA, you are pathetic. You keep catering to these industrial tycoons who are economic terrorists. You are pathetic human beings. Canadian government's really not better, let's be clear. But we're going to pay for this because the city of Windsor is dying due to you running all your trucks right through. The other part that goes with Maroon with this is Maroon owns a trucking company. It is him owning the bridge, honestly, and a trucking company should not be allowed. To me, it falls under that whole monopoly thing. The US and Canada as well really needs to get back to trust busting. Big time needs to get back to trust busting. They need to go back to the way things were being run in the US in the 1950s when the US was truly flourishing and doing great. The government of Canada should not have had to pay for this entire bridge. Everybody shouldn't have had to fight for this bridge as long as we did. And it's all because of your standard Americanized corporate capitalistic greed. And I'm not against capitalism. Capitalism is a wonderful thing. Capitalism definitely helps drive innovation. But the type of capitalism that is being practiced with all these conglomerates, like where it's basically coming down to like 6, 7, up to 10 companies that own kind of like everything, there's a real problem. And the Maroon Company is a good part of this problem. A perfect example of how the city of Windsor, I'm going to do a whole episode on the major problems in the city of Windsor. It'll probably be my next episode, but because it's very comprehensive, I didn't have enough time to get it ready for this one, and I plotted this one out already. So anyways, when I get to doing the problems with the city of Windsor, Maroon is going to come back up again because he is a major part of the problem with the city of Windsor. The big three, Chrysler, Ford, and GM, also huge problems when it comes to the city of Windsor. Monstrously huge problems. And if you notice, as I keep going on here over and over again, it's U.S. companies that keep being a problem here in the city of Windsor, all right? And all this video I'm showing of the bridge here, this is for me, this is kind of once in a lifetime, You get to see pictures of the Ambassador Bridge being built back in the 20s, and it was like, ooh. And, now I get to see pictures and you get to shoot video footage of this bridge being built now. And it's kind of like, woo. The only part of crossing between Canada and the US I did not show because I'm going to use it in a different episode coming up is the train crossing. I did not show or use video footage of the train crossing because I have a whole episode coming up dedicated to Windsor and trains, because that's a whole issue as well. Realistically, a lot of these episodes are going to turn into my gripes about the city of Windsor. I'm going to be completely honest. But I'm going to finish up with this griping. We've shown you some pretty pictures of all these crossings. I've talked about them a little bit, the problems with coming in when they were built, stuff like that. We're going to wrap all this up. I do apologize. I did not intend for this to be the gripe fest that it was about Maroon and what Maroon has done to this city. But he really has done a lot of damage to this city. I've mentioned multitudes of it in here. And, I mentioned that I was going to do an episode about all the problems with Windsor, and it might end up just being every episode I'm talking about problems with Windsor as I go, because the train episode I kind of want to do next. And that is a lot of major problems. I've also got buses planned as well, because buses are a problem here too. But I have to do a Big Three episode because Windsor used to be the Motor City, right? And the Big Three caused a lot of damage. I mean, a lot of damage in the city of Windsor. And they still are continuing to cause a lot of damage in the city of Windsor. uh, Anyways, folks, I'm going to cut this one off here. You know the routine. If you're one of my regular viewers, which I'm going to say most of you are, comments below. Let me know what you think. If there's topics related to the city of Windsor you want me to get into, anything you want me to talk more in depth with, stuff like that, go for it. That's what the comment section is for. I'll talk about it. I'll get into it. There's also a link that'll go to Patreon. I am working on links to other stuff, so, people can start throwing me some money. Viewership is picking up. These episodes take a little work to put together. Travel expenses. Anyways. So, Patreon for now. I gotta do some more. And then also the like button, the subscribe button, the bell for notifications. That helps out everybody. And then peace, love, take care.